Yeah.
Good. Okay. So, Moshe, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Well, I'm sorry. What do you say, Rabbi Gafne?
Good. Okay. So we're holding in the second chelik of the Ain Beis on Omud Tov Reish Ain Vav, which is Os Shin Chof Tes of the Hemshech, and it's about the third Os of the Maimer V'lakatem Lachem B'yom Harishon, which is Sukkos, Chag Sukkos Tov Reish Ayin Hey. And as far as I remember, we got down close towards... Yeah.
Gafne,
Yeah.
can you hear?
Yeah.
So learning this sif is a school of Didan Natzach Shleimut Haaretz.
This Shiur is
Because it's Shin Chof Tes.
Didon not so for Shleimus Haaretz?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear.
Yeah, the Din Shin Chof Tes in Shulchan Aruch.
Who is this?
Grumach.
So it's a school of Didan Natzach Shleimut Haaretz.
Oh, okay. So you want us to Shin Chof Tes? Is a how is Shin Chof Tes as good of a Didon not so? Yeah, I can see that. But I didn't quite catch what's good over Shin Chof Tes.
In Shulchan Aruch, Shin Chof Tes.
Oh, I see. Right in Hilchos Shabbos. Yeah, Shin Chof Tes. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, that's where the Alter Rebbe is Mavaya. The whole Indian of Yotzim Aleim, Afilu b'Shabbos b'Chulu, Afilu Boim Lefi Tarnosom, Rachel Iskei Kash v'Teven. Koshkin, that they say openly what they're coming for. Is, and that's a quote from the Rambam, V'li Shum Choyle. There's nobody disagrees with the Rambam about that. And the Beis Yosef Paskins, as they also Gam B'li Choyle, Bedova. And the Alter Rebbe brings it on Shulchan Aruch, B'Pashtas, so Ein Nachanami, Shin Chof Tes. As far as I remember, we're holding close to Sof Omid Toriu, who also means to make a noise, Tov Reish Ayin Vav, and we were learning about the Indian of Koyach. We saw that Koyach is Davkim, Dov Mugbal, but it comes in the form of a specific Hamshocha, Mugbal be'etzem minyonei, and it's in order to be poel ha'pe'ula kaviohu chutz mi'etzem, and we saw that like other inyonim, it has not only its own inyan be'atzmai, but it's also megale and throws light on the klolos Hamshocha of Tzmusis Baruch V'kol Ha'inyan Shel HaBriya. And therefore we saw that the inyan of Koyach Lamata by Adam is a very specific, limited Pu'ula. However, we saw that it's only Shayat Berotzen. He doesn't use the Koyach of any, even the Koyach Proti of any Koyach Kloli. He doesn't use that without a deliberate decision, Kavioch Ha'inyan from Gilei HaRotzen Shel Ha'odom. And so, Kamoy Kein Lamaila, the Indian von Koyach is Davke a Indian Ritzaini, with that's indicatory of all the Inyanim Adla Atzmus is Barach, that everything is Davke Bekavona Barotzen, not in and even from Mamelech Has V'Shalom. And then we went on to say that there's the Indian of Chitanius Upnimius in the Indian of a Koyach, because there can be different suge gilui or hafola of the pu'ula and the koyach, how they come out of the koyach kloli. That can be in even from chitanias or in an even from panemias, and we said that's not shayach so much by the Indian. If we take, for example, the Indian of oyer, what even though we'll point out a bit later in the class that there is a certain gather of panemias or chitanias, afila in the oyer, but that's not nika kokach, and it's not a Indian kokach b'izgalas. Masenke in the Indian for koyach comes davki in a way that it has giluyim, chitanium, and panemium. And therefore we saw that there can be our oyer godel, our cotton of it's all a fee even hamoya, that the oyer is the whole sug or even of the oyer is dependent entirely on the moya, or not because there's anything in the oyer be'etzem, which is chitanius panemius kokak. Mashenkin and Indian von Koyach, yesh by Penimis V'chitonias. This is about maybe 8 lines up from the bottom of the Omid. Mashenkin Koyach, yesh by Penimis V'chitonias. Kamay Lizreich, Oy Lahagbiya, Dover Koton, Ubechitonias HaKoyach. To throw or to lift up a small object, but that's only the Indian for 10 years, hakoyach. However, like be a master gedela, to lift a heavy and a big article or a big weight, or lizrek bakoyach, or to throw davkir with an intention of throwing it a long distance, but that requires the Indian of koyach. Nimshach pneumius koyach. Then the pneumius but the koyach hazrika reveals itself much more than in, for example, throwing a small distance, or as we saw in another moshel, if somebody throws milamayla lamata. However, if he throws davkin even for an elevation, and he throws also a long way, then that's davkin mitzad pnimius hakoyach. Again, sheyesh islabshus, apart from the chitanius of panemias in the etzem oifen of the gilui hakoyach itself, v'gam sheyesh islabshus koyachas alyonim bozer. That when a person uses the koyach of hagboa or zrika or things of that nature, well, that's the union of koyach kipshutei, then we see that it's possible, and it's very usual, that there's also islabshus of koyachas elyonim, which are not charged to the koyach hatznua, but things like seichel, v'regish, they can be mislabish in the union of a koyach poshut harbi yosem mehem. So therefore he said, kamoy liktoi v'litzaya, when a person writes or he draws a picture, then mislavish b'zeh ha'oras ha'seichel, that he can have a usage of a koyach kipshutei, and that's a koyach of the yad, that's mugbal b'lefi in yonei hayad, but there's a gilui, the seichel, and that makes the koyach function in a much more delicate and elevated fashion. And that's mitshad he slaps us the koyach elyon in the koyach hatznua. And he said, for example, also if a person wants to throw, yeah, שיש שלב שקוראים העניינים כמו אליקטור לצייר משלב זה האורס הסייקו ולזרוק הוא גילוי כוח התנועה לבד. Compared to that, throwing is just the etzem koyach of the koyach hatnua itself, except that occasionally it's musba in citizens that can also be a relative. Slabsus of the koyach alyoin in koyach azrika, when somebody aims carefully and throws in a aimed and calculated way at something. But that's not bedugma kokach to the union of chesiva or tziur, אבל upon him it is a gilui of a koyach elyon. Kamoi kain a koyach elaki bo oilamaz. As if we talk now about the koyach that would be Ika, we're talking about the chitzonius amalchus, like we learned last time, and the oisias. Then magbil, the Indian of the koyach elaki, which is mislabish. Banivroim, or that's the koyach al poyel banifal. What that Indian is barbaderach islapsus in the nivro, the koyach elaki bo elam shebo b'chidas pnimias v'chitzonius. It also comes in an even from pnimias v'chitzonius. And here we don't mean pnimias legabi the nivro. That's also true in certain circumstances, but we mean pnimias legabi the koyach kaviyochem. He said, "Kamoi bo elamas atzilas bria yitzira vasiya beklau, shehein bechinas chitzonius upnimias." That's to say that atzilas legabi bria is the union from pnimias, and bria is chitzonius. Ve'ilo bria legabi yitzira is also the union from pnimias compared to chitzonius, and therefore the whole seder of those elamas is in a union from pnimias v'chitzonius. In every oilon, you got all sorts of different madregas proteas, what their pnimias compared to chitzonius. For example, the uniform moichin compared to the levushim in that particular oilon, which is the uniform chitzonius akelim, or a filo de moichin, compared to the union of chitzonius amidas. You got madregas befrat madregas b'teicho elom, or b'chol madrega proteas, and also in every level in its own right, each individual and specific level, yesh b'zeh chitzonius upnimias. Like if you take any middle or any union in the ishtalshalos of the koiches, then each one of them can be described as having a chitzonius or pnimius sheboy. Ki yadua umavua b'mochimacha. So it comes out, like he said, that the koyach is davke misgale in a oifen from the fiyomim chitzonius or the fiyomim pnimius be'etzem koyach atzmai. And there's also in the etzem koyach slabsus of different madregas, like in Moichin Kuvi you have a certain Islabs, and then you have Islabs of Moichin, Bamidas, the Midas, Malchus, also in an even for the Islabs of Elin, Batecha Takta. So that's briefly the Indian from Koyach Ad Khan. And so based on that Indian of chitzonius of pnimias, b'toich inyan hakoyach, and we hinted that in oil that's not so shaykh. There's now long brackets that the Rebbe begins here with the word ubatzilas. He begins a bracket, and that bracket goes for quite a way onto Sofresh Ayin Ches. There'll only be the end of that bracket. And this is like a very long Maimah HaMuzgar, in which the Rebbe is going to be mafalpul in this whole union of pnimius v'chitzonius. How does it relate to other inyonim and different inyonim apart from the union of koyach? And therefore he says, "U'batzilas עניין אסלאפסוס הספירס, זה בזה, הוא על ידי הכלים. That there's also in Atzilus Aislavsus of Spheres Zebazeh, Elioin Bataktoin. Yeah, and that's Davki through the Indian of the Koyach Agbola, the Indian from Kalim. And we're going to see that Koyach and Kalim have a kesher between them. And we're also going to see that the mention of the Indian from Kalim here is very key to the whole development of the argument. We're going to see Besof Omad Tov Reishayin Zion, we're going to see that there's a nuance, Bekol Inyonim Ailu Ashad to the Inim from Kalim, which fits into a very important understanding pattern of the Inyonim. So therefore he mentioned here the Inim from Kalim, of Shur Shon. What is the Shurish of the Kalim? Yedua Mavua Bahar B'Makemes Shehu Inyan HaTzimtzum HaRishayin. That the Inyan from Tzimtzum HaRishayin was Davke, the Helem and the Yisalmus of the Koyach HaBligvul and the Gila of the Koyach HaGvul. And Davke Mizeh, Alidei Inyan HaRashimu Koydem, is the Gila of the Mochya, the Inyan HaKelim. Davke from them is Shayat the appearance of Kelim. Shalidei HaTzimtzum Misalim HaPnimiyas V'Niskala HaChitonias. But one of the inyonim of the Tzimtzum is that it causes a helem in the Pnimiyas of the oil V'Niskala HaChitonias. Now we're going to see that that's only in a certain field, as you might say. We'll move on to that. Shalidei Zeh Nasa B'Ha'oyer, in the oyer Hameya Mi'atzmas, and the oyer Shalifnei HaTzimtzum is Nasa B'Oyer B'chinas Pnimiyas V'Chitonias. They say Va'inenu, what sort of Chitonias and what sort of Pnimiyas in the Inif and the oyer, which is a result of the Tzimtzum. Ha'inenu, D'hinei koydem HaTzimtzum, lo hoyo havdol klal bein pnimiyas v'chitzonias. Before the Indian of the Tzimtzum was made, as a well-known, the oyer HaPoshet, the oyer Elion B'Loshen Eitz Chaim, HaMamale es kol HaMatzias, V'loi hoyo mokim la'midas ha'olam has, well, that oyer Poshet, that was the oyer shekoydem HaTzimtzum, and there was no Indian of a separation in that oyer bein pnimis v'chitzonias. Now we're talking in the oyer the pnimis v'chitzonias, it's not the Indian so much of what take that oyer that was hidden the koyach ha'gvul inside the koyach ha'bligvul, and the bligvul was his gabras on the koyach ha'gvul. That's a bit of another Indian, which maybe has a certain shaykhas here, but here we're talking that in the oyer gufa there wasn't yet any Indian of chitzonias the pnimius. No, it was all a oyer poshet b'loshen ha'arizal, a oyer poshet elyon. He said, "V'hu oyer v'choishek mishtamshim b'erbuvia." Well, that's the loshen of the medrash, that oyer v'choishek, prior to the Indian of Gili v'hi oyer, that it was oyer v'choishek mishtamshim b'erbuvia. They were literally serving in a state of complete mixture. Well, that's the loshen erbuvia for loshen tariva. So he said, was it the Indian from Choishech? He said, Choishech also means oil. He said, the Choishech, I know how oil Ashayach Elo Elomet. Kameshkos of Mochimacher, in Eter, there's a whole, in the first main long Hemshech, in Eter, there's a whole long beer, the oil, which is basically Shayach to Gilei, but Elomet, that's called Choishech. Lagabi Diamit is Indian from oil. And therefore, when we say that at that level, prior to the Tzimtzum, there was a Buvia, the word Choshech itself involves, the word, it implies Oyer. It doesn't imply Choshech, Kipshute, nor the Oyer which is going to be Shah to Ilamas, and that's Lagabi Pnimis Oyer, the Kal V'chemer Lagabi Atzmias Oyer, or that's a Inim for Choshech. Since it's going to later deal with Inyonim from Nivroim, from the Matthias, then Lagabi the Amitis Inyam from Oyer, that's a Inim for Choshech. V'hoyu Morovim Yachad. So now he writes in brackets, bifnim brackets, and he says, "L'chayre gam koydem hatzimtzum yesh bechinas etzem ha'oyer v'yispashtus ha'oyer." Now this is another inyan, but etzem v'yispashtus is like we had earlier. That's another inyan from. It's not gilui helem or not a inyan from koya v'oyer. All those inyanim. This is a Oyer hameya mi moya, and that's beterach ha'ora b'uvad, even though it's a ischachus musayamas lagabi domoya, the whole arichas that we had benegah to etzem v'yispashtas. So he says, prior to the tzimtzum, there's an inyan from etzem v'yispashtas. Kama shadizbor liyu pirik shin kof, or over there, you remember that prior to the Tzimtzum, you also have two general states or madregas. It's hard to call them madregas, mitzad the actors, pshuta, but anyway, it's like two states in the Indian from the Oyer, Indian from Pnimis v'atzmius Oyer, or that's the Oyer Mamish Kolu v'atzmusay, and then there's a Indian from Ispashtus Oyer, and in that Ispashtus Oyer, being Lagabi the Oyer Kolu b'atzmusay, only a Ha'ora bilvad, but there you can have a Indian from the Chitzonius of Pnimius. But in Etzem Oyer, it's not Shayach. Ain from Chitzonius or Pnimius. And that's basically what we're going to say now. He said, V'hinei, V'chinas Pnimis, V'chitzonius, Shebeho'oyer, Akol hu V'chinas Ispashtas. So in that madrig, what he pointed out, that's only a ha'ora, Lagabi de'etzem, Koyda Matzimtzum, well, that's where it's shy to talk about Chitzonius Pnimius. He said, V'hari gam b'zeh, yesh beis madrigas. He said, even in the Inyan of his pashtas, even Kloli, there's also an Inyan from Etzem his pashtas. He said, V'hari gam b'zeh, yesh beis madrigas, koydem alois harotzin, u'b'chinas alois harotzin. Well, it's well known that prior to the Tzimtzum, we have kama madrigas, like which are nuances and states in the Oyer prior to the ultimate Inyan of the Tzimtzum. And the first one is the Inyan from Alois HaRotzen. But it's well known that the Rotzen is there on a very high madriga, mamish a Rotzen shemitzad ha'atzmas, kolu b'atzmas, and then there's a Rotzen prior to what we call a Rotzen Hanelam, or Rotzen Akol, Rotzen Poshut, that it's a dayan, only a Ina from Rotzen, but not that it means a Ina from Poyo, because the immediate Ina from Rotzen is when there's a Hamshocha and a Marutza Rotzen, for Russian running, a movement towards something to do it with all the urgency of Rotzen. He said that there's a state in Rotzen, or maybe two states in Rotzen, where they haven't yet become of an actual Gilui HaRotzen, but they're a Mokia Rochek of the Inyan von Rotzen. If these states hadn't been, then it wouldn't have been Chayek Rotzen B'Puyo. And that's what he calls Alois HaRotzen. There's a Inyan von Koydem Alois HaRotzen, U'Bechinas Alois HaRotzen. Koydem Alois HaRotzen is the madrega of Rotzen HaMuchlat, למעלה מעניין הגילוי בינתיים. And then, but however, it's already like the appearance from the Helam Ha'atzmi, a certain trace of Inyan HaRotzen, and then you have Alois HaRotzen. What Alois HaRotzen means that the Rotzen's already become a Inyan Shel Gilui with a certain name. And that's what we said at the door was Oila Beratzonoi. We can use that in many ways. Oila Beratzonoi means that there's already a conscious and a clear expression of the Inyan HaRotzen, just exactly how that will be carried out. But Poyo, in detail, you need for that a further Inyan of Gilui HaRotzen, Rotzen Galui, with all sorts of other madrigas of the Inyan from Alois HaRotzen. Yeah, that was already there in the Ur Shalifnei Tzimtzum. And it was then it's followed by another madriga brought down on Siddur, the Inyan from Shiur ba'atzmei koma de osed liyos b'poyo, but that's like all the details already begin appearing, but that's a teitzot or a result from the Inyan of Alois HaRotzen. U'kamoishen is bo liyil b'chamadukte, and as it's been mavur in this hemshech itself in different places. Ubederek klal u'bechinas Yud K and Vav K the Shem Havaya Shalifnei Atzimtzum. It's well known that there's what we call the Shem Havaya de la Tata and the Shem Havaya de la Eila. There's a lower level in the Shem Havaya and the higher, more essential level in the Shem Havaya. And the difference between them, but even clearly, is that the Shem Havaya HaTaktoin is shy to Atzilus, or the development of Atzilus, which is after the Tzimtzum. Ve'ilu Shem Havaya de la Eila, that's Otera Minyan HaTzimtzum, and he said in that Madrega, Lifnei HaTzimtzum, where you got the Inyan in the Klolos Inyan of his pashtas, you got different nuances. He said those differences are expressed in the Inyonim Shebashem Havaya, for this is Yud K. Yud K is Terem Alois HaRotzen and the Inyan from Alois HaRotzen. The Inyan from Vav K, what Yud K is well known. The Inyan from Moichen, if we take it in the Odom, the Moichen are Dveikim Boy, and they're not given so much to the Inyan from Revelation, and I'm Shochet to Azulas. Ve'ila, the Inyan from Vav K is Midas Boy from Kloli, and that's a Inyan from Al Choponim Hascholas Agilui. So he said that that's the Inyan, how it is prior to the Tzimtzum, in those two Madregas, and that's the Shem Havaya Lifnei Tzimtzum. So he says, Yesh loima dezehu mipnei sheklolos hagilui yehu gili retzoini. How can we have all these dargas? Do we have Alois HaRotzen? And part of that we have even just the even appearance of the Rotzen. Terem etzem Alois HaRotzen. And then we have a Inyan from Rotzen Golui, but the other Inyonim. In other words, we have Inyonim Shal Heder Apula and then Piula. He said that's all due to the fact that all these Inyonim are all Barotzen. They're all deliberate on the part of the Eibishter, and Chas v'Sholem to say that anything happens just in a even from Mamela or Mielo. So he said that all those Inyonim van Rotzen, different madrigas in the Inyan van Rotzen, all that indicates the very fact that we described this with the term Rotzen. That's a way of saying that it's all even shall Gilui Rotzeni. It's not in even from Mamela Chas v'Sholem. Or Mikol Mokim, or Yoabach Hitzenias, Gamkein Ribui Gili Oyer. Yeah, Kemoiba Pnimias. In other words, in these pashtas Oyer Beifan Klori, but in that guf is Shai the Inyan from Pnimias, v'chitzonius. He said, nonetheless, just like we said before, when I get to the concept that the koyach hagvul is kol b'teik the bligvul, in the same way, the pnimius is koil and moisiv ribui oil, and even that the chitzonius is ein bekilo, and it's niklal kilo in the pnimius, but it's already there. It's already shaykh to say that. Therefore, we describe it as being a ribui oil, being meya in the inif and in the chitzonius. He said, "B'klolos ha'inyan tzorich loima shelifnei hatzimtzum lo yesh ischalchus madregas klal." He said, even though we're talking about all these inyonim, however, what they appear to be like madregas, so he said they can't really be described as madregas, just like we said, benegir to the pnimius and the chitzonius, they're not really two inyonim, or the same oyer, the pnimius is meya in the chitzonius. So he said in the same way, we can't really say that any of these inyonim are really ayin and ischalchus, madregas, klal uklal. But the expression klal uklal is very definite, that it comes to cancel out of that inyan of there being really any ischalchus of madregas be'emet. He said, "Bechinas koidem alois harotzen, bechinas alois harotzen, ain't b'madregas mecholochis." It's not that these are two separate, interdivided levels. Ki im hakoil hu is pashtas oyer echad. It's all beneger isgalas. It's all a inif and his pashtas, or bira his pashtas, is not the etzem oyer. And therefore it can be in that these, as it were, madregas, what they're like what we could describe as states, or what we might call nuances inside the oil, but they're not madregas, mugdoles, border, in an even finished chalches. And therefore it's all ispashtas of oil echad. He said, we can take a moshel for that from the inif and akudim. The inif and oilam akudim, but even though oilam akudim is already after the tzimtzum harvey, but we can take a dugma to that inyan, how you can have like many states, but they're really all one inyan. So he says, akudim the isa beit chaim, she'ha'oiras hain eser va'kli achas. As you do the Lashon Beneget to Akudim, what's brought always considers that you have the inyan and Esa Oiras Bekli Achas. So if you have Esa Oiras Betoy Kli Achas, then, how do the Oiras relate to that Kli? And what's, as it were, their relation? He said, Mavua Ba'et Chaim, Shah Moti V'loi Moti. Perek Aleph, but that's one of the shorim after the inyan, where he talks about the klolos atzimtzum and the whole all those inyonim. He's mavayar over there shegam ba'kli hu eser bechinas, that even in the kli we must say, or we must learn the pshat, that you've also got eser, as it were, states or inyonim, and they make it possible for the Esoiras to be mislavish in that keli. However, he said, "Mikol mokim hi kli echad." It's one kli, but it's koil, and it's sort of like Eser states or possibilities that they can be mekabel the Esoiras. And so he said to give you a dugma miseh in the inyan more. In the infant Nigla, more in the infant Gashmias, he said, "Mavur b'mokim achas shezal derech she'oma b'mishnah." In the Mishnah, Perek Yud, the Manoches, she'nosotais hoyu oisim bahin. Now, what's it talking about over there? The Mishnah By the way, this is Perek Yud according to the way the Gemara organizes the Mishnayos. There's a slight difference the way the Prokim and Menachos are organized in the Etzem Mishnayos compared to how they are in the Gemara. Remember, this doesn't occur in Perek Yud in the Mishnayos, but the way the Gemara arranges the sugyas and the numbers of the Prokim, than it is in Perek Yud, not far from the beginning. And the inyan from Shnotzes is like levels, like steps or levels. And it talks over there in the Mishnah that they had different measures in the Mikdash for different things that were required for the Manoches and for the Korbanos and for Beklolis, the Nesochim and so on. Now, one of the measurements was a hin. So a hin it means like a measurement of liquid in Beklolis, in the Mishnah and the Gemara. So he said that the kli, what they used to have for a hin, had in itself shnotzes. And this infant shnotzes is like levels, like little, and there's a diagram over there. Rashi's masbid, the whole inyan, that they have like a rather tall kli, and then the kli's got like blitas that go in and out, like it has sort of shelves almost, which don't exist, but they sort of, at least when you pour the liquid in, the liquid is parallel to those like levels, or that's different fractions of the hin, which it's necessary, for example, chotzi ahin, revius ahin. So we needed to have in the hin the infant measurement. So these measurements were all inside one kli. In other words, there was a hin and it had these like inter levels without actual trays or anything, but in the kli, achas of a hin, it was made up different levels, which indicated different, as it were, ways of measuring the hin. So he said that's what the Mishnah says over there in the Gemara, in Masechta Menachos, and he says that's v'hainu shehi kli achas. It's all one kli. It's a hin. Shenischaleches le'eser, as it were, marks or states inside the kli. So we see that there's a dogma of a kli achas, and yet nonetheless it's got 10 different states in it which it can relate to 10 different oifanim, or as it were, inside the kli. So he said, "V'kolshkein, if it's like that in Ain Gashmi, then he says, "V'kolshkein hu ba'ir ein seishel lefnei hatzimtzum, shakol hu is pashtas achas." Even though it relates to a kli achas in Hakudim, that's already after the how much more so in the Earth lefnei hatzimtzum, that when we talk about any states or gradations, we don't mean that they actually divide the oil openly into any levels, but they're like, as it were, like we talk about Olam Abriya, for example, we say Olam Abriya is Shoriyas, Amatziyas, that it's possible within the oil for that inyan to be miskala later on. And that's what we call a inyan from Chitzenias, Pinimias, with the whole inyan that we saw in the Esparsus, the Chitzenias and the Pinimias. So, and a Beklau, in the whole inyan, the Esparsus, it's not shaykh to divide it or be machalik it into any states, but yet nonetheless it's got that possibility within it, and that natiyah within it, that these levels can be miskaleh. V'hainu she'achitzenias lo yoya nika klal, aber v'negel etzem ha'gilui, the chitzenias was covered completely inside the penimias. He said, if we take the famous moshel that a mashpia with a makabel, you have a mashpia kisha maskil a seichel yatzmai, when he's learning that Inyan, how it is li'atzmai, how he learns it, eino nika etzloi klal chitzenius aseicho ashayach. That's how the Rebbe corrects it, that word should be shayach. It's not shayach, the chitzenius aseicho ashayach ela makabel. He's learning that Inyan only li'atzmai, in with the pnimis hakoyach hamoyach shelo and pnimis haseichel. In that level, it's not shaykh any difference. V'eno shaykh pnimis v'chitzenius. Da hakoyach hu pnimis haseichel. That everything is only pnimis haseichel, because he's meir and masig and mizbeinan in the Indian kemoise ze besikloi. Aber mera mikiven ze kemoise besikloi, the ha'atzmi, there's no interdivision, or no, as it were, state of pneumius versus chitzenius. It's all etzem pneumius haskola. Validea tzimtzum, when he makes a tzimtzum in himself, hu shenasa havdola, in other words, that's for sure that in the seichel that he was being masig, he was masig it mitzad his own koiches. He was able to see it only, or he's not able. He only saw it, only how it is be'etzem minyonei. However, that's for sure, since that's already a koyach, and it's already ha'oram ha'etzem haneves v'chulu, then there is potentially inside that ha'inim from pnimis v'chitzonius. It's just the way that when he is oisik b'zeh li'atzmai, he has only the pnimius, and it's not nika klal any inim v'chitzonius. He said, v'havdola zu, or this inyan, hu ba'oyer ein sev, shelifnei ha'tzimtzum. I'm sorry, where are we? About idea tzimtzum. But when he makes a tzimtzum in his soul, but it's Mavuyan says that he makes a complete blockage in himself, as if he were not masik this particular in the beklal for himself, and he makes like a vacuum inside himself. But idea tzimtzum ushanas avdola bein pnimius v'achitzonius. He said, "V'avdola zu." Who ain't safe shelifnei hatzimtzum. The Ain Mashi's boya le'il, look further into the Hemshech, and it'll be mavur be inyan rakia hamavdil. So here he says a very amazing thing. He says that this havdolah, which comes about through the tzimtzum, is really in the ain't safe shelifnei hatzimtzum. So that doesn't seem to get together. That if you're going to say that the tzimtzum is poyel be'ezadova, then l'chora it's poyel in what is maya, as it were, after it's done what it's done, and it's caused a tremendous helim of the etzemo air, and then there's only a spashtas that they are left over, and that is the inyan hatzimtzum b'chulu, as is well known. And it says, what do you mean by saying that the havdolah between chitzenius and pnimis is in the ein sof shelifnei hatzimtzum? You just said that in the ein sof shelifnei hatzimtzum it wasn't nikah. Nothing was. There was no havdolahs between anything. So therefore, he says, how does that get together, and how does that fit in? So he said, Shaharei, Nizbu Liyel V'Perik Shinyu Dalet. Well, that's right at the beginning of this krach, of this sefer where we are now. Di'acha Tzimtzum Chozer V'Hoyer Hoyer Shohoyer Mamale Mokim Achalo. Oh, so he says that the Tzimtzum caused a vacuum and a Mokim Ponoi. And that was the Ika Pu'ula of the Tzimtzum be Hascholas Inyone. And then he said, once there's already that Inyan at the Mochim Ponui and the Cholol Kaviyochum, even though there's a inyan from Rishimo there, but let's talk in the Oven from Kloli. Yeah, that there's a inyan from Mochim Chalol. He said that inside that Mochim Chalol there was a famous doctrine of the Chozer Lahoya, that the whole air was meir back again into the Mochim Chalol. In other words, first of all, there was a complete withdrawal of the air, particularly the Pneumius, Atmis air withdrew altogether, and then there was only a Mochim Ponoi, the Gabi Klolos air, and then he said in that Mochim Ponoi was Meir, the air Shalifnei Tzimtzum, that came back and it was Meir, B'toich HaMochim HaChalul. V'hainu Sheheir Klolos air, Shalifnei Tzimtzum. What does he mean by saying that it was Meir Klolos Oyer Shalifnei Tzimtzum? As l'choina, it was Meir Klolos Oyer into the Teicha Mochim HaCholol, then that would l'choina imply even the Etzem Oyer, which is not Shayach B'klal, to any inyan of chitzonius or pneumius or anything. It's l'mayla mi'espashtus legamrei. So how does he say there was meir klolos or here after the tzimtzum? So maybe we have to say that what he means by klolos or here, he means the klolos espashtus or here, the klolos or which is shaykh to having in itself pneumius for chitzonius, or and that's called klolos ha'er because it's kelo both of them. Or maybe he's hinting at a deeper inyan, that the inyan of klolos ha'er is kelo even the etzem ha'er, which is kolo ba'atzmas mam, is not shy to any of these madregas. And that's like an asinus koyak, that it is meir in a oven from complete makiv, and completely beyond everything, but it's like an asinus koyak, that later can be all the inyanim that develop. Cain yesh lema b'derech efsha. Maybe we can suggest that that's what he means by klolos oyer shelifnei hatzimtzum. However, he says pnimis oyer u shenisha behelem legamrei, and the pnimius oyer l'chori doesn't mean the etzem oyer or kol be'atzmutzei, but the pnimius of this oil that in the espashtas, or that's nisha behelem legamrei, the chitzonius oil hu shemeyer b'chinas makiv, and even the chitzonius after the tzimtzum is also meyer b'tchilas inyone in a oven from makiv. Hu b'chinas ha'igol hagodol, that's what we call the lashon the igol hagodel. Now this koydem hatzimtzum, what the inyan of igol hagodol is only really discussable after there's already been a tzimtzum, and therefore he said that's what we call the igol hagodol, shehoya lifnei hatzimtzum, but that's really mizgale in a form of igol, which is makiv, only after the tzimtzum. He said because prior to that it's not shayach, the whole inyan even of makiv. He said, over there, in Shiur Daled, he's mavayah the whole inyan that after the tzimtzum inside the mashpia, then the whole seichel begins to return again, first of all in a makiv, and then after that there's a tzor of a inyan from a nakuda. What we're going to see later, that's in the nimshal of the Rishimo. So he said, "K'muvan mi'amashal dashpos aseicha mavur sham. Arei shalidei hatzimtzum nase bo'ir, meaning the earth lifnei hatzimtzum, avdola." Why? Because that's being meir now. However, the tzimtzum causes that it's meir alidei hatzimtzum, or that tzimtzum causes avdola bein pnimis v'chitzonius shaboim. And then you get a level where there's a avdola and a clear interdifference between the pneumius and the chitzonius. He said, V'hinei b'chinas pnimius v'chitzenes shebo'er, shebo b'giloi lahoyer ha'elamas, zeh gam ken al yidei tzimtzum. Now this is a very fascinating move here in the argument that we're going to have to watch carefully how it develops. And he says that there's another pnimis v'chitzonius, not just in the general oil shahoya malis kolacholo, in the ispasta shaboi, that you have now havdolah ben pnimis v'chitzonius. He said there's another havdolah ben chitzonius la pnimius, and that's when you've already got the oil hameya alidei rashimo into the inyan van oilam, is what that's inyan akav. And that's the inyan van oil shabo begilui lahoya hoilamas, yeah. But there you also have a difference between pnimis v'chitzonius, because like we said, even in biyah you have a very marked difference between pnimis v'chitzonius. So it follows Lefi says there's another level of havdolah ben pnimis v'chitzonius, and he said that's also al yidei hatzimtzum. And that we're going to have to sort of figure, what does he mean? Because it'll become a bit clearer why I asked that question, what does he mean? Because it appears that that's like a second symptom. And it's not mamish the tzimtzum harishon, but why does he use a lashon ha-tzimtzum, which tends to imply the tzimtzum harishon, because all the tzimtzumim and all the inyanim which cause epizayin in tzimtzum, Shersham Makeram Harishon, is in the inyan tzimtzum harishon. He said, "U'kamoyel der moshel etzel hamashpia." If we take this famous moshel, that a mashpia and a makabel. So he said, "Harei nimsa b'chinas chitzonius oer ashayach el hamakabel." Not oilamas, nor the Rabbi correct or makabel, but b'chinas nakuda. Or he said that after he's made the tzimtzum in himself, he said then there's a nakuda appears, and from that nakuda he opens up everything which ultimately reaches the Talmud and the Makabel. However, he said that nakuda is hainuli arshabo tchila v'chinas maki. That's what he's mad over there in Shiur Dalet, that it goes in two stages. That first of all, the inyan is bo even shall makiv, even after the tzimtzum, even after the shocha, which is going to be already nimshach into elamas, and then after that there's an appearance of the inyan of the nakuda, and exactly that nakuda occurs mamish b'koyach elyon. It's not really a dover shal pi yezek klolium. It's just that once there's been ayin shal makiv, then the only way you can begin shocha pnimius mamish, but that's only through a nakuda, because otherwise the makabel is not able to be makabel. So there, first of all, you have ayin for makiv, and then you have ayin from the beginning of the nakuda, which is ultimately the pnimi. And I thought to myself that maybe that's the two inyanim what I brought down in Likutei Torah b'shem Eitz Chaim, that he says that in Pasha Korah, that the kav, the way the kav is nimshach is that first of all it's mitagel with the ayin, that first of all the kav appears as a circle, and a circle is a makiv. And then he said, Nasi Yosho, it becomes after the circle, it becomes a inyan, a kav Yosho. Maybe that's the two inyanim. So first of all, you have it appearing as a makiv, and then it becomes an akuda and a mokiv for the specific oiras which are going to be nimshach into the elamas. Hari, who mefaret es haprotim shel hanakuda. Shezeu b'chinas hispashtas. He said the opening of the inyan of the nakuda, that's a new type of hispashtas. First of all, there was the inyan of an etzer. Now there's been inyan of the Ispashtas Alidei Tzimtzum, and now there's a new inyan from the Nakuda, a new Ispashtas. Achzehu, he says, Lamaila dain mi klei hamakabel. That's still beyond the makabel. Ki zu amashpia mafad protim lopia chushim shaloi. He's mafad protim how he appreciates them. Agam she'ez b'zeh ashora michushi hamakabel. There's also a little trace of him understanding the makabel and his chushim. Mikol mokim mebnei akiru v'la'atzim v'shal hamashpia. הרי זה עדיין לפי ערך המשפיע, לא לפי ערך המקבל. ועל כן צורך להיות עוד צמצום, שתהיה השפעה לפי ערך המקבל. Oh, so that's what we're going to now be misbaining. And we're going to be masig in the inyonim. What is this further tzimtzum? And what does that represent? But again, to the original Tzimtzum, and nonetheless we call that Ha-Tzimtzum, even though really, Be'etzem Proteus, it's another level altogether. It's another type of Tzimtzum, and we'll see more about that in the coming, how do they say, in the famous lesson of the Olam in the coming episode. We'll have to see more about that. So now I'd like to take a few minutes just to have a word about Yutis Kislev. For who I have the night so far things